Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Hannah. If you're new here, this is the mid-year Freakout Tag. I have done this tag every single year, and I know we are at the end of July, almost August by the time I'm filming this, but I refuse to break my streak of doing this tag every year. So, welcome and let's get into it. This tag consists of 14 questions or prompts, and I will link the original creator, although the video is hidden these days. But I wanted to give credit to the original creator for coming up with this tag. I'm also going to take this opportunity, not right at this moment, but I'm going to talk about my break and where I've been a little bit. So, stay tuned if you want to hear a little bit more about where I have been this summer. I'll try to be brief about it. Let's talk prompt number 1, best book I've read so far this year. I have to have 3 answers because, of course, I can't just pick one. We've got a nonfiction, actually, Jane Austen's Bookshelf by Rebecca Romney. This is an exploration of the women writers that inspired Jane Austen, and also not just a bibliography of their lives, but their impact and why they became obscure after their time and why we haven't heard of these women. But this is also talking about Rebecca Romney, who is a rare book dealer, finding particular editions of these books to read and why and how. And so if you're a book lover, if you're watching this channel, you might be a book lover. I highly recommend this. This is a 5-star nonfiction. Then we have Japanese Gothic, which was a 5-star horror. I keep thinking about this one, which is why it is here. This is a story about 2 people who are separated by time but live in the same home, and they're kind of seeing hauntings of each other. So there's a little bit of timey-wimey weirdness going on. This was incredible. I couldn't put it down. I keep thinking about the ending and the explanation for everything and how everything was tied together, and it was so masterfully done that from a quality standpoint, I honestly think this is one of the highest quality books I've read this year. Of course, my enjoyment always plays a factor in my star ratings, but I think as objective as I can be about this, Japanese Gothic is one of the most well-crafted books out there too. And I have to say the same thing for my third answer, which is The Everlasting by Alexi Haro. You're going to be sick of me talking about this book by the end of this video. This is a romantasy with time travel and reliving lives over and over, and these 2 coming together and being pulled apart repeatedly through time. She is a knight. He is a scholar in the quote-unquote present timeline. She's from the past. The way my heart hurts still thinking about this book and how devastated I was repeatedly reading this book. It was fabulous. So not only from an enjoyment standpoint, but also from a craft standpoint, this is one of the best books I've read this year, and it's got teal edges on the hardcover at least. The second prompt is best sequel, and I have to give it to The Last Argument of Kings by Joe Abercrombie. This was one of my very first reads of the year, back in January, like the first week of January is when I finished this book. This is the 3rd and final book in the First Law trilogy. This is a grim, dark fantasy that I really thoroughly enjoyed. It's highly political. There's war, there's battle, there's a bunch of characters. And I just really enjoyed how this trilogy concluded, so I have to give it to this one. I also want to give a shout out to the hannahollihan series because so this is an 8-volume series, and I read the first one, and I was a little underwhelmed, a little unimpressed, but I read the second one because I could just see the potential of the series, and I'm really glad I did because I'm now obsessed with this series. So best sequels also has to go to hannahollihan by Beth Brower. This is a cozy historical fiction that has the slightest, teeniest, tiniest hint of romance, but that it's a slow burn romance over all 8 freaking volumes. I'm on volume 7 right now, so no spoilers, but I'm loving this series, and these are the best sequels. Prompt 3 is a new release that came out this year, but you have not yet read. and I have to give it to A Tapestry of Fate by Shannon Chakraborty. This is the second book after The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi. I'm currently rereading the first book in this series, Amina al-Sarafi, and I got about halfway through, and then a bunch of library holds came in. So then I was reading the library books, and so this project has kind of been put on hold temporarily until I can get through some of my library's reads. But I really want to get to this. I've been kind of lacking in fantasy this year, not in terms of like the fantasy has been bad, but I just haven't been in the mood for fantasy, which is blasphemy coming from me, whose favorite genre is fantasy. But it's just been like the summer months have been a weird mood reading time for me, so I haven't been getting into fantasy. I'd like to get back into fantasy with finishing Amina and then continuing on with her adventures in Tapestry of Fate. Prompt 4 is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. So my original thought for this was The Wolves of War by John Gwynne. I'm obsessed with John Gwynne, as you can see by this whole shelf dedicated to John Gwynne. That's his new series coming out. But Becky Chambers announced she is releasing a new book after so many years. We have been waiting for Becky. Becky, where you been? It's been several years since she released anything, and the previous releases were novellas, which were delightful, but we needed a full-length novel from this author, and there is one coming out from her in the fall, and I am dying, and it's gay, and it's gonna be space opera, and it's a duology. This is the first book of the duology. Obviously, I have to say Becky Chambers. She writes cozy sci-fi, space operas, and again, I can't wait for that. Biggest disappointment of the year. So first I'm going to answer with a book, which is Daughter of the Otherworld by Shauna Lawless. This is the continuation series of this Irish historical fantasy series, and the reason I'm so disappointed is because this book felt a lot younger. It felt very YA, whereas the previous trilogy was really much more adult, not in terms of content, but just following adult characters. I mean, our protagonist in this one is a teenager, and she was behaving like a teenager. And so I can't fault the author or the character for behaving and writing the character like she's a teenager, but she's just annoying. And I just felt like we needed to get moving. And in the previous trilogy, a lot of time passes, and so we see the characters grow, like physically age and grow. And so I'm hoping that's what happens in later installments. So I'm going to keep reading this series, but this was like a 3-star read when I was expecting a 5-star. So maybe I put too high expectations on this one, but this one was kind of a disappointment. But my biggest disappointment for me personally has been just my lack of videos, my lack of wanting to read this summer. I took a long break, which is weird. It's my first long break from YouTube since I started my channel, and it started out as a good thing. I was really just wanting to do other hobbies, so I was playing video games. I was spending a lot of time in my garden, which has been lovely. And then work, my real job, became kind of crazy because I was gunning for a promotion, which I did get. So the hard work paid off, but I was just exhausted from doing that. And the idea of getting on the computer to edit videos after spending all my time at work, just working so hard for this promotion, was not appealing. So I just stopped making videos just to take a little bit of a break. And then it turned into a reading slump where I wasn't reading. And then I started reading again. After like a month, I started reading more, and I'm really in the reading mood again, which is great, but I haven't been in the mood for video making. So, but today was the first day I woke up and I said, I'm going to make videos today. That's the first time that's happened in 3 months. So we're going to ride this wave and make videos and try to get back into YouTube again because I've missed it. I've missed making videos. I enjoyed the process of making videos. So I'm not going to be disappointed in myself anymore and my mood. We've improved the mood. We've gotten the promotion. We've kind of moved past some of the hard stuff. So hopefully we can enjoy our reading and all of our hobbies for the rest of the year. Remind me to give you a garden tour in my next vlog or something. Prompt 6 is biggest surprise. The first one I'm going to say is a short story called I'll Miss Myself by John Wiswell. He's the author who wrote Someone You Can Build a Nest In. This short story is only 20 pages and I cried. It's about mental health and isolation and loneliness, and with a sci-fi twist to it, and it just really hit me. This author, I think, can come off as melodramatic in his writing, but it really works for me. It worked in Someone You Can Build a Nest In, and it worked in this short story so well. And I don't typically give short stories or novellas 5 stars, and this is a 5-star short story. The other surprise I have to say is the Heartstopper series by Alice Oseman. This is a YA graphic novel contemporary sports romance about Nick and Charlie. You've probably heard of it. I'm late to the game. I read the first 5 graphic novels of this series. The 6th is the final one. I'm waiting from the library to get my hands on it. But this series just brought me so much comfort and joy and coziness. It blew me away. This series really blew me away. The writing is excellent. The graphics, the images were beautiful. The reason it's a surprise is because I didn't necessarily think it was going to be for me, that I would love it. It's young adult. I'm an adult. I mostly read adult these days, but every once in a while I dip back into young adult, and this was definitely a gem for sure. So I am loving this series. So number 7 is favorite new author, debut, or new to you. I'm going to say Diana Quincy. She's a Palestinian American author who writes historical romances. And I've read 2 books by this author, one in a previous year, and I read The Earl That Got Away earlier in 2026. And that was a 4.5 star read. The previous one was like a 4.25 star read. So I definitely think Diana Quincy has potential to be a favorite author of mine. I keep wanting to get her books, but they're not super available in my library, which is frustrating. But she's definitely an author I want to keep an eye on, and I would love to continue to support. Newest fictional crush. So before, 2 days ago, I didn't have an answer for this, but then I read, what's it called? Heartbreaker by Sarah MacLean, and Duke Claiborne, who's the lead dude in this romance. Yeah. I don't know what to say without getting embarrassed, but he was just written so sexy. The way that he talked to our main character, appreciated her, loved her, uplifted her, trusted her, was very sexy to me. So I have to say the Duke from Heartbreaker. Number 9 is newest favorite characters. I'm going to be very annoying and just say books I've already mentioned, but Una from The Everlasting, she's a female knight. I just really enjoyed her character. We've got Emma Lyon from the Emma M. Lyon series. She is a delight. Nick and Charlie from Heartstopper. I'm just rooting for those 2 young men, young boys. And then here's a curveball. Veronica Speedwell from the Veronica Speedwell series. She is a lepidopterist, a butterfly enthusiast, and also she solves murders. I've read 2 books in this series, and it's been delightful. And she's just a really fun character to read. I've just been really into historicals recently, and she's witty, she's smart. She's kind of effervescent in a way, a little crass at times, and I just love her character for that. Books that made me cry. Again, I'm going to be very, very annoying. Books that made me cry. Heartstopper. Most of the volumes made me cry. Volume 5 of the Lion series is the Christmas episode, and those always get me. I'm sorry, they do. And then The Everlasting. Also, I already said The Everlasting made me cry on repeat. Ugly cry, like boo-hoo-hooing cry. So, sorry these answers aren't that different from each other, but it's the truth. Books that made me happy. Heartstopper, Lion. Those are just delightful. But I'm going to say A Gentleman's Gentleman by T.J. Alexander. This is a historical gay romance about a noble and his valet. I love that. This had great twists and turns. This had pretty high stakes. I just really liked this one. And it just made me, kind of giggle and kick my feet. I was really rooting for these two. And it's trans. And it was great. The trans rep was really good. I really liked it. Highly recommend. Next is the most beautiful book I bought this year. And I'm going to skip The Everlasting. It's beautiful. It's got teal edges. We know already, Hannah. Stop talking about The Everlasting. But I'm going to hold up Dragon Mage by M.L. Spencer. I just think this is a really cool cover. Look at it. I have not read this yet, but I love a dragon. I love a dragon on a cover. This book just feels, it's huge, but it feels weighty. And this is a book that isn't available via audio or anything, so I decided to buy the physical. So I really got to crack into this soon. I'm not in a fantasy mood yet, but by the end of the year, I will be. I'm going to manifest it. Next is what books do you need to read? What books do you need to read by the end of the year? I just want to get back into fantasy, honestly. I'm not forcing myself to read particular books, but I've been missing fantasy, and so I would like to get back into it. I've been really into cozy. So first I was in a horror mood, and then I was in a cozy mood, and then I'm now in kind of a historical mood. Kind of. That's kind of how the summer has looked for me, and so I just want to get back to fantasy. I just want to dive in and be swept away by a fantastical world again. And 14 is favorite book community member. I'm going to say all of y'all. I have been gone for months, and I apologize. And so if you're watching this and you stuck around, you're my favorite, to be honest. There's also a bunch of great creators on this platform. Obviously, I've shouted them out in the past, but I gotta say thank you to the viewers on this one. That is the tag. Those are the questions and my mini update about where I've been. Thank you so much if you stuck around to the end, if you stuck around to wait for me to post again on this channel. You are a real one. What's your favorite book you have read this summer? Leave all your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you in another video of mine very soon. Bye.